Chapter 4 is in development right now, and today I wanted to answer the biggest questions going into the 4th, like what happened to the prototype, where did Ollie go, and even what will the new main antagonist be, starting with the first question, where is the prototype? In Chapter 3, despite being one of the biggest characters in the game, talked about on multiple occasions, we only see him twice. Once in our imagination of the Hour of Joy, where we see him reaching his hand out, and a second time in real life when he takes away Catnap's body after the fight. So where did he go, and where will he be in Chapter 4? Well, for one, we know for a fact the prototype is following us around the factory for the entire game based on him collecting the bodies of our victims right when they die. So for Chapter 4, it's pretty safe to assume he will follow us down the lift at the end of the last chapter to explore the next area. But this also brings up the interesting question of why does the prototype follow us around the factory while we explore instead of just attacking us like what happened to all of the other employees in the Hour of Joy? Well, for one, we know the prototype is trying to secretly lure us deeper into the factory to the point where there's no escape so we can't run away. As Poppy already told us in Chapter 3, we were in too deep and the prototype would kill us if we tried to leave.
Prototype knows we're coming by now. You try to escape, he'll kill you before you ever reach that front door.
So then, why does he want us to stay? Well, like we said, after we beat each enemy in the chapters, the prototype comes out and collects their bodies right when they perish. And at first, we all assumed the prototype was collecting and putting these bodies on the underground shrine. But in Chapter 3, Ollie told us specifically that the shrine was made by Catnap for the prototype as a sign of worship.
Did you see the shrine? Catnap made it for the prototype.
Meaning all of these toys the prototype was taking for themselves likely aren't the same ones we see here on the shrine, so then why did he take the bodies at the end of the games? Well, I think it's because throughout Chapter 3, one of the main facets of the entire game is hunger, and how the abandoned toys in Playcare were willing to attack us with everything they had in order to get the chance to eat, while also turning on each other in the process. And according to Dog Day's final speech, we know the prototype was in charge of feeding all the toys inside the factory, who in exchange for food to eat treated him like a god, hence the shrine and the candles around the playhouse. And so therefore, I think the reason the prototype doesn't want to kill us just yet is so he can use us as a pawn to take out all of the weaker toys, so he can then take their bodies away and feed them to the rest of the starving monsters after he saved them in the Hour of Joy. And this matters a ton for Chapter 4 because it's already been teased in the game files that the next chapter's location is most likely going to be a prison. Granted, this isn't in the actual game and I would take it with a grain of salt, but more importantly, Poppy also told us after the Hour of Joy where all the employees were killed that they dragged the remaining bodies under and ate them.
They dragged those corpses down below where they'd never be found, and they ate the bodies to stay alive.
Meaning when we then go on the lift downwards in Chapter 4, this likely means in our next location, we will get to see where they stored the employees, and also maybe the lost toys from the last chapters the prototype took as food. It's an interesting theory, but an even bigger question I had about Chapter 4 is whatever happened to Ollie? In Chapter 3, our main companion throughout the entire thing is the child on the phone, Ollie, but we never see what he really looks like or really learn anything about him. So what happened to him and where will he be in Chapter 4? Well, while Chapter 3 was the first time Ollie appeared in-game, he actually made his debut all the way back in Project Playtime, released over a year ago now. As in Project Screening Room, we are sent a couple of VHS tapes by a mysterious person who gives us some classified audios from Playtime Co. And eventually, the same person also sends us the exact phone from Chapter 3, saying we would get a call from them later, of course foreshadowing Ollie in the 3rd chapter, suggesting the person sending these tapes in Project was Ollie. And this matters because it shows us Ollie has insider knowledge of what goes on inside of the factory. And while many popular theories state that he is our enemy or could even be the prototype in disguise, he's leaked multiple VHS tapes to us, guided us throughout Playcare, and is actively helping us and Poppy stop the Bigger Bodies Initiative monsters, suggesting he may actually be our friend after all, but that's a rabbit hole for another video. Regardless of if he's good or bad, in terms of Chapter chapter 4, we know basically for certain Ollie will be returning. He's just too important of a character to not. And in fact, we'll probably see him again before chapter 4, since going back to Project Playtime, the developers already confirmed there is an entire story to the game they want to reveal by the time the game leaves early access, according to their Steam page. So most likely, as new updates release into Project Playtime, hopefully in the coming months, more VHS tapes will be released as well, and we'll probably learn about any secrets Ollie is hiding there, so make sure you subscribe to not miss any updates in that vein. But moving on, an even bigger and possibly the biggest question I have for chapter 4 is, who will be the main antagonist in the chapter? I've already mentioned some characters I think will return in this and previous videos, but who will the main villain be? Well, first off, to get it out of the way, the chapter 4 main antagonist will almost 100% be a completely new character. That's pretty obvious, as they've already talked about making concept art for major characters in chapter 4, and for every other game in chapter, they've had a new main antagonist, so I won't waste your time theorizing about how Braun or Daisy will be the next main antagonist, because it's just wishful thinking. However, there are a few different unaccounted for experiments that I think could be teasing the chapter 4 antagonist already, and the first one most famously is the bird, as all the way back in Easter of 2023, a list of Bunzo Bunny comics were released showing Bunzo finding a live bird inside of an egg before mysteriously being trapped in a hole and dying. This bird creature still to this day has never been accounted for or even mentioned or teased anywhere else in the game at this point. I don't even know if it's canon, but if it is, this could possibly be a very early tease of that character, especially since the developers like to tease new characters months early in ways we don't usually expect, like Mommy Longlegs hiding behind the door of the chapter 2 teaser, or Boxy Boo hiding behind the employee's whiteboard, for example. Another couple characters worth considering are in Catnap's project proposal before his experimentation. We see the employees reference a number of other experiment numbers we've never seen, including experiment 1160, described to have successful methods of enhanced mobility, which I'm assuming is Boxy Boo because that was his main feature. And then at the bottom, while blanked out, the document also says, in light of project shortcomings in the cases of 1187 and 1186 believed to be blank, it makes me wonder what toys they could be talking about here. I originally assumed that these could be talking about the bigger body smiling critters like Dog Day and the other ones we never see in game, but throughout all of chapter 3 they never clarified what these experiments are or what the shortcomings were when creating them. So again, it's completely possible these could be some new characters we haven't seen before that could also make their own appearance later in the game as well, sort of similar to how they teased Kissy Missy a chapter before they actually revealed her identity in chapter 2. Speaking of Kissy though, now that we basically know the next character will likely be a new main antagonist, like we mentioned earlier in the video, at the end of the game there was originally supposed to be a sign leading to the prison at the end of the game, like what happened in chapter 2 with Playcare, but they instead chose to replace it with this scene of Kissy being attacked, most likely meaning this attack scene is somehow meant to tease chapter 4 in some way, and now it makes me extremely confident that the person attacking Kissy is most likely the new chapter 4 character, whoever or whatever they end up being. Those are just my theories, but let me know your answers down below.